Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing a deck that is built around what is perhaps the most interesting card that just came out from the new Forgotten Treasures expansion, the Golden Nekker. However, because this week's seasonal event randomizes our entire deck, today we'll be playing in Standard. So let's go take a look at the deck. So today we'll be playing a Northern Realms Pincer Maneuver deck that is built entirely around the Golden Nekker card, which is undoubtedly the most unique card that just came out from the Forgotten Treasures expansion. Because to use this card, you can't have any cards that cost 10 or more provisions in your starting deck. And of course, those are usually the best cards that you would have in your deck. So that is a steep price to pay. However, because we've met that criteria, when we play Golden Nekker, we get to play a unit, special card, and artifact all on the same turn, which is just ridiculously strong. So that means that this deck is built largely around a bunch of 9 provision cost cards, because that's the strongest type of card that we can get. And most significant of all those 9 provision cost cards is the Archgriffin, because we will have a lot of boosting in this deck, and we'd like to target as much of that boosting as possible towards the Archgriffin, because then we can either play it in round 1 or round 2, have it go back into our deck, and keep all of those boosts, giving us a huge point slam for the later rounds. And one of the most significant ways in which we will do that boosting is using the new Mutagenerator card. And this is also crazy powerful, because once we have the Mutagenerator on the board, whenever we play a unit in the melee row, it will boost up to 5 other cards on the board that have the same provision cost. And almost every card in this deck has the same provision cost, so it is very easy to get that value. Alternatively, if we play units in the range row, we will boost up to 5 other cards with the same provision cost in our deck. So depending on if Archgriffin is on the board or in our deck, we can deliberately play our other 9 provision cost cards either in the melee row or the range row to direct those boosts towards the Archgriffin. As for the specifics on those 9 provision cost cards, we'll probably start with Reynard to boost any other unit that we play. Then if the Archgriffin is in our deck, we'll play Dandelion in the range row to set up deck boosts from the Mutagenerator and also give us an order ability that can boost the Archgriffin. Then we can play Matta to boost other 9 provision cost cards in our deck and also draw into one of our better cards. And then Meve to boost all other cards on the board, which is a little bit better, of course, when we have Archgriffin on the board as well. Donimir is one of our other 9 provision cost cards, and there are plenty of things for him to protect. Most notably Vysogota, which is our only 8 provision cost card, so don't worry about the Mutagenerator for him, but this is our best way to get boosts on the Archgriffin if Archgriffin is on the board. Along with Nenneke, who's a good finisher if you have Archgriffin on the board. Then one of the other 9 provision cost cards that will either get the benefit from all those deck boosting if it's hanging out in your deck, or that can boost the other 9 provision cost cards on the board if you play it in round 1, is Seltkirk, giving us the potential for a lot of removal. Other than that, we have some bronze units that are all 4 provisions, such as Tridam Infantry, which is another potential boost target. Lyrian Scytheman, which you can use as a finisher when you have a bunch of boosted units in the same row. Dandelion, which is another good target for at least 1 boost to help you get some thinning. And finally, Redanian Elite for a bit of a point slam. And because all these cards are 4 provisions, that means that, once again, if you have the Mutagenerator on the board, you can either boost all the 4 provision cost cards in your deck, or all the ones on the board. Then lastly, because Golden Nekker plays a combination of units, special cards, and artifacts, we want to make sure that we have enough of those types of cards in our deck that Golden Nekker has a target. So Alzur's Double Cross can either give us whatever unit we've done the most deck boosting on, or Archgriffin. And of course, similar story with Royal Decree. And then the Zoria Runestone is here to give us another way to get one of those 4 provision cost bronze units to maximize the Mutagenerator synergies. And Reinforcements gives us another way to play one of those 4 provision cost bronze units for the same purpose. Then for the artifacts, obviously we have the Mutagenerator, as well as Summoning Circle to give us another way to get some 4 provision cost bronze units. And Vial Forbidden Knowledge, which is another one of the new cards that can help us get even more boosting either on a Tridam Infantry, Archgriffin, or Seltkirk. So there's a look at the deck, and like I said, it is all built around the Golden Nekker. Because although we can't exceed 9 provisions, loading up on a bunch of cards with the same amount of provisions works really well with the Mutagenerator, giving us enough points to still get the job done. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Skellige here, and we'll go first. Okay, so a few big things to note here. We have the Golden Nekker in hand. That's great, because it's a little bit hard to get this out of our deck, since we can't use our lead ability to get it. We have Archgriffin, so we may look to boost Archgriffin on the board rather than in our deck. Do we have enough ways to boost it while it's on the board? Reynard can do that a little bit. Matta can help us get other cards that might help us out in that regard. Why don't we dump one of these Redanian Elites? And Dunbanner, I mean, yes, might help a little bit with thinning, but we also are a little bit high on special cards here. We want to make sure we have several in our deck for Golden Nekker. Donimir, not bad. I do not like the Redanian Elites all that much against Skellige, because they might have enough damage to destroy the armor. So I think first what we do is let's play Reynard, because we can't use Curse Scroll or any leader ability charges until we've played at least one card. I'm pretty sure I saw a card moving in their hand. So I think they have Sunset Wanderers. It's Armored Drakkar. And tell you what, given how we don't have too many ways to boost cards that are on the board outside of, honestly, Vial of Forbidden Knowledge might be the best option, we might opt to keep Archgriffin in our deck and instead go with Dandelion to boost him up while he's in there. But first, let's go with the Mutagenerator. But as I was saying, I think we might want to actually have Archgriffin hanging out in our deck. And the Mutagenerator will give us another way of generating some more carryover. Okay, it's the Corsair who will remove some of that armor and get boosted in the process. And now what we're looking for is probably to use a leader ability charge here to make sure that we get Dandelion, because that is the primary card to do the deck boosting with. And then let's put one of our 4 provision cost cards back into our deck, because we have several of those. Let's go with maybe Tridam Infantry. Play Dandelion next to Reynard, and because we play him in the range row, it means that Mutagenerator is going to boost our 9 provision cost cards in our deck, such as Nenneke, Seltkirk, and Archgriffin, and Meve. Okay, it's not a great longship. Good thing that we got these guys down here beforehand, because at least Dandelion, we want to make sure he remains inspired. Because now we can use him to boost the Archgriffin, and Archgriffin, do we know what is at the top of our deck? It's this Redanian Elite, because this was not a 9 provision cost card, and yet it still got boosted at the end of our turn. So, I mean, it would be fantastic if it was Archgriffin, but we'll use the order abilities to make that happen. And now, we might even go with Dunbanner here. Boost all the 4 provision cost cards in our deck, because there are still several of those, and Reynard still boosts this Dunbanner and gets the other one out from our deck. We could use Reynard's ability now, I suppose. Might have other cards we'd prefer to keep boosted. Black Blood. Ooh. Okay, that's interesting. Whatever unit we play next is going to get destroyed, because Reynard is inherently going to boost it. So, what is the card we are most willing to sacrifice? We could go Vial of Forbidden Knowledge and activate it on, say, this Volunteer. I'm not really sure we want to do that, though, because that is still losing 8 points worth of boost. So, it might be better to, say, go with Matta and lose her. I was kind of hoping to save her because there is a non-zero chance that the highest card that we draw turns into Archgriffin, and as we were just saying, we'd like to keep Archgriffin in our deck, because it, as of yet, just has 3 boosts, and that's not great. We could go Reinforcements, I guess, and play another Dunbanner, which is not very good, but that's kind of the point, is to play a not very good card to get rid of Black Blood, so sure. Tell you what, we'll do it. It still gives us a little bit of carryover from the Mutagenerator on all of our 4 provision cost cards, so it's something. Blue Boy, you're going to want to damage him. They've not yet shown much in the way of self-damage, unless you want to count the Dimmed Corsair in that group. Now, let's make sure we use Dandelion once again on the Archgriffin. And that way, even if we do draw into the Archgriffin here with Matta, we'll at least have some additional boosts on it. And it's Meve. Okay. And because Matta is a 9 provision cost card, that means more boost for Archgriffin. It's up to a 12, which is not bad. We'd like for it to get a little bit higher, ideally. But that'll do for now. Okay, it's the Fallblood Cultist, which is not doing too much outside of... Well, I mean, it does deal damage to Blue Boy, so I suppose that's where that's coming from. Now, do we want to play Meve in this round? Do we think it's going to go long enough for that to be a factor? I mean, we would kind of like this round to go as long as possible, because that means more time for Dandelion to do the deck boosting on Archgriffin, so I think we might opt to go that route, and then it'll also set up the Lyrian Scytheman as a potential finisher, so I think maybe we do that. We'll go Meve, and then next turn might need to be Golden Nekker, then after that we'll finish with Lyrian Scytheman. That should give Meve just enough time, or we could use a leader ability charge, but I think we want to save this to make sure that we can still get Archgriffin in a future round. So let's do this, and let's place you next to Reynard. And I think this is where we'll use Reynard's ability. And as she's also a 9 provision cost card, means we're getting even more deck boosting on, most importantly, the Archgriffin. Okay, and okay, here's a little more self-damage. Going for the Drakkar rather than Blue Boy. And there's Sunset Wanderers. Okay, so yeah, they wanted to make sure the round at least went long enough for them to do that. But we do have a very big ace up our sleeve with Golden Nekker. Let's use Dandelion here. We're definitely, I think, looking to play at least one more turn to do this. And we're boosting you. You're no longer inspired, which is very unfortunate. But if we go Golden Nekker, it should hopefully make a pretty big difference. So we go play you here. We use you to... I think we go Temerian Drummer. Although it is a 5 provision cost card, which doesn't work all that well with Mutagenerator, it does mean that we have a way to keep Dandelion boosted. Do we have anything to purify? I mean, we probably are just looking to do some more deck boosting here. Sure, we'll go Peller, I guess. You go here. You, it doesn't really matter who you purify, I don't think. But most importantly, the deck boosting. Actually, should have played you in the melee row, I suppose, if we were intending to use the Lyrian Scytheman on our next turn, but we may not do that. Meve will boost the entire board, even if we don't play anything on our next turn. So that is probably the plan, unless they happen to destroy one of our range row cards, which would be kind of convenient, because then that does make space to the Scytheman. This Redanian Elite does make me a little bit nervous. It is very much a target for that longship. They are eyeing it. They didn't hit it, though. Don't know what that was all about. But yeah, at this point, I mean, we could play Vial of Forbidden Knowledge. It's not going to have enough time to proc all the Vitality, which is unfortunate, so that's why I'm reluctant to go that route. We can't really play Lyrian Scytheman because we probably should have put Peller in the melee row. Yeah, it means we wouldn't have gotten all the deck boosts, but we have enough 4 provision cost cards here that boosting the cards on the board wouldn't have been the end of the world, and we would have kept space for this Scytheman. But is that something we're willing to do? I think we just settle for Meve's boost here. I think we just settle for that, because it should be pretty big. Oh, and the reason why this Redanian Elite was so big also, not just because, or mostly because, it was Dandelion who was boosting that at the top of our deck. Okay, yeah, so that's not a coincidence that it's up to a 16. They are still playing, so, I mean, the biggest way for them to catch us would be if they have the damage hit. Yep, that's why they didn't go after it before. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So that does mean we'll lose round 1, but we have a very big card hanging out in our deck. So this is the thing, we may have lost round 1, but our opponent did play one more card than us, and we did a ton of deck boosting. So Seltkirk is all the way up to 11, that is a great card to boost. Tridam Infantry, not as big a deal. Redanian Elite, not a huge fan of boosting that one, because it is vulnerable to get reset. But what if we get rid of this Scytheman? I mean, it might be our throwaway, to be honest. It might be our throwaway. I mean, everything else is boosted, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. Maybe we get rid of Vial of Forbidden Knowledge, and Royal Decree might be... Well, I mean, it is a way to get our Archgriffin. We might go for Redanian Elite here. Yes, it is 10 points, but given how it gets reset back down to a 1 if it gets hit too much, and we're going against Skellige, who certainly, at least theoretically, may have the damage, I think that's probably what we're looking to go for here. Yeah, I think so. Or, I mean, Tridam Infantry is an 8-point body, but, I mean, if we have Vial of Forbidden Knowledge or Vysogota in the next round, then suddenly that does become a whole lot more potential. So, yeah, I think it is probably Redanian Elite. Or, I mean, we could use Leader Ability Charge to get something smaller, but I mean, everything is boosted like crazy. So, I guess it's this. I guess it's this. It is the riskiest card to play, so might as well get rid of it now. Okay, and we did draw into Vysogota. We also drew into Alzur's Double Cross. That means we have the ability to get Archgriffin with Alzur's Double Cross. We can then proceed to get Tridam Infantry, if we'd like, with our leader ability or with Royal Decree. So we have tons of tutors here. In fact, that means the only card that we currently would not be able to get would be Vial of Forbidden Knowledge, which is 8 points. I think that may still be worth less than the Lyrian Scytheman when we have as much boosting as we currently have. So I guess we stick with this. This looks like it may be the best possible combination. So I think we start with Donimir in the range row. And that is to protect Vysogota, who we will play likely on our next turn. Okay, Bear Witcher Adept, not too concerned about that. We play you. And, I mean, maybe just in case, we'll get a tiny little bit of value out of Vysogota in case they somehow have a way of still damaging him here. Okay, Megascope for another one. And I suppose it has decent base power, but even then it's not a huge deal. So, in that case, I think what we're going to want is we're going to want to get these Tridam Infantries down here and use them as the target for these Vysogota boosts. And they can heal off the damage, so it is actually somewhat significant that they went with the Bear Witcher Adept there. But is there anything else we'd want to play early? I mean, Archgriffin is not time-sensitive. Scytheman is. We'd like to have that other Tridam Infantry down here fairly quickly, too. So, I mean, I guess it's this. You're getting healed 1 per turn. We can deal 2 damage this turn. It's not like we're going to be able to take you out. Maybe we wait. Maybe we wait until we see if you have better targets. Oh, that is interesting. So here's the thing. Normally, this would be one of the best counters against Northern Realms. The problem for them is we've already done a ton of boosting, so we don't need to do that much more. And yeah, it would have been nice to load up on all of our boosted cards here in the range row, and then spam Lyrian Scytheman here and slam this Lyrian Scytheman at the end for even more boosts, but we can shift gears and go into the melee row if necessary. So I think that's what we're going to do here. It does mean this Tridam Infantry is not all that helpful, but we can then get the other Tridam Infantry out from our deck with this Royal Decree and boost that one instead. So that's probably what we go for here in that case. And we can still use Alzur's Double Cross to get the Archgriffin, so don't worry about that. And technically speaking, still not great targets for damage. Because the Dire Bear, if we damage that, does allow them to boost in their range row. Not really sure if they're going to do that, but... Okay. Damage units in our range row. Not terrible. The War Crier is going to get boosted. This is now... I mean, either of these guys are now better targets for the damage, so that's why I waited on Vysogota. So I think we probably do that. And we do need to play Nenneke in the range row. Doesn't really matter because she's not going to get boosted herself. She's going to boost this Tridam Infantry. He's going to get huge. So that is somewhat of a risk if they have tall removal. But I guess we'll maybe... yeah, we're going to end up having most of our big cards here in the melee row where we don't have Donimir. So that is definitely a risk we're going to have to run. We could opt to use some boosts on Seltkirk and actually could even get rid of Dire Bear with Seltkirk. That's not a bad option. Alternatively, just get rid of the Patricide, which is, at the moment, a pretty good trade, but maybe we stick with what we had planned here. And, yeah, really hoping that we hit a few things other than... oh, also, we haven't played anything yet. Play you. But, yeah, really hoping that we hit some things other than Dire Bear. Yeah, see, they were just waiting for us to damage that Dire Bear so they could actually get some boosts out of Svalbard Priest. So that's why we waited a little bit, and, still not perfect, and perhaps for that reason, it might be best to put our remaining boosts into Seltkirk. And if they have a Red Haze, then playing 2 big units right next to each other like that is a little scary. But, let's see, I mean, this Alzur's Double Cross is going to end up being the Archgriffin, which we could hide behind our defender. The problem with doing that is that if we do, then our Lyrian Scytheman's not going to be as impactful. Yeah, tell you what. I think we do go Archgriffin here. We'll put it in the melee row, and this is going to be removal bait, potentially, to see if they get rid of that. That should mean that on our next turn, Seltkirk will be much safer. Matta, oh, you're going to make this round go longer. That's actually probably fine. Okay, it was either going to be Lyrian Scytheman, or there's a chance it was going to be our Vial, which actually would have been better, even in a relatively little amount of time that we have remaining. So now that means we could go Scytheman here and maybe just put that in between the Archgriffin and the Tridam Infantry so that Red Haze no longer works, or might be better to put it off to a different side to put a safer little pocket for Seltkirk to go in. Either way, we'll put it here. And it does have to go in that melee row because they have Dire Bear in the range row, so that's why. That's the primary thing that they messed up for us a little bit when they use that. I suppose we can also go leader ability to create a 2-power unit here to create a safe little pocket for Seltkirk as well. Yeah, so I guess we could have put Lyrian Scytheman in between these two after all. Lucusia. What did they have that they might want to bring back? Blue Boy. Oh, okay, yeah. They have some self-damage. So, and that's another card that we don't really want to hit with the Tridam Infantry. So they've done a good job of having cards out there that we are reluctant to hit. We do need to go with Seltkirk now, because Seltkirk needs a turn before he can use his ability. Let's go with our leader ability first, and we're probably just going to not get anything at all, in fact, because we got the only Northern Realms card when they played Matta. The only thing we've left now is the Vial. So now it's Seltkirk, and this just gives us a little bit of a safer place to put you. So we could boost you up, but I'm thinking we wait on Vysogota a little bit more, and maybe Nenneke as well, to see... Oh, I just don't love everything in the range where I'm not realizing is in 8. So an Igni would hurt, but they're mostly trying to pick their poison here in the melee row. So I'm thinking we wait on these boosts, and then whatever is left standing is the thing that we boost. Oh, it's Morkvarg. Okay, yep, so that is a counter, for sure. Go after the Archgriffin. Which is kind of interesting. Might have been either a misplay, or they might have another way to deal with Seltkirk, because Seltkirk definitely would have been the better target, even if he didn't have as much power, because now we can use Seltkirk to get rid of Patricide, which, actually, conveniently, Smallblood Priest is an even better target. So, I mean, again, you technically could make a case for Dire Bear, because could bet as this being a Yrden in our melee row, since they've lined up a bunch of boosted cards here. That is a really good combo, Dire Bear plus Yrden. So it's possible. I think we go for this, though, because it not only gets rid of one of their engines, it also means that, they will not get the damage on Blue Boy. Now we're gonna boost like crazy here. We might not even have enough time to do all of our boosting, in fact. We are not going to have enough time to do all of our boosting, but it doesn't matter, because they will forfeit, so apparently that last card was not a counter, so we'll take the win. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here, and they'll go first. Okay, so we have Golden Nekker in hand. That's great, because that is a little bit harder for us to get in hand, since it's not a Northern Realms card. Then Archgriffin, also notable, means that, well, we may be focusing on boosting it on the board rather than while it's in our deck, unless we swap this out and try to get Dandelion instead, which we may prefer. I think we may prefer that. Also, we have, I mean, yes, 2 ways to get Archgriffin, but we can use our lead ability to make that happen, so we probably want to get rid of one of them, because Golden Nekker will play a special card, and we won't have very many special cards left if we don't put one of these back. Okay, Vysogota would be a very good card for boosting while the Archgriffin is on the board, but we just decided that we are perhaps going to focus on using Dandelion to deck boost instead. Dandelion and the Mutagenerator, which we do not yet have, but we can use our lead ability to make that happen. So I think what we go for here in that case is, why don't we start with a card that we do not care as much about doing the deck boosting with, because normally I would say play Matta first, but we'd like to have the Mutagenerator out there first, because when we do, playing Matta in the range row will give us more boosts on units, including our Archgriffin. Okay, Artorias Vigo, also I do this because I'm expecting that they're going to try to take this out, so I'm using this as removal bait. Yes, it does remove the boost on it, true, but I deliberately did that so you wouldn't do that to cards that we actually care more about. So, now what we do is we go leader ability, because we can't do this when our hand is full, so we had to play something else first. Now we can get the Mutagenerator. And I think we may have more 9 provision cost cards in our hand than we would like at the moment. So what do we want to keep? Maybe we get rid of Seltkirk, and we'll deck boost that as well, and save that for a future round. Now, what we really don't want is to draw to the Archgriffin here. Okay, good. That's actually, Dandelion is exactly who we wanted anyway, so that works well. Except I meant to play Mutagenerator first. Oops. That's the whole reason why we didn't play Matta on our first turn. There you are. Okay, it's another Toussaint Knight Errant. It's technically just a little card, but I'm not sure why they have all of them. It is not all that common. So now let's go Dandelion. Or maybe even Royal Decree into Reynard. Yeah, I think we might want to do that. Because now that we have the Mutagenerator out there, we will do some deck boosting, and as I was saying, we have a lot of 9s in our hand right now, so it's just boosting the Archgriffin and Seltkirk, but those are the 2 cards that we care the most about deck boosting, so that's fine. Okay, Ox. Oh, we're going to lock Reynard. I mean, this is Nilfgaard, so we should probably be expecting a whole lot of locks and other control. So we could go Donimir, but I would like to save Donimir plus Vysogota for a round which we're actually planning on playing Archgriffin directly on the board. So actually, I think what we'll do here is let's go Dandelion first in the range row. So we'll get some deck boosting there. But what we'll do is, if they don't lock him, on our next turn we'll play Meve in the melee row. That'll boost our other 9 provision cost cards on the board. That includes Dandelion, so he'll be inspired. And it'll also, well, I mean, he is locked now, so lovely. Thanks, Nilfgaard. Queen Meve. Maybe you cannot lock her. I mean, we could still play her in the range row, and that is still boosting Archgriffin, who, to be fair, keeping him in our deck was definitely the right route, because, as we're seeing, they're locking absolutely everything that moves. So, it is necessary, if we're trying to use Archgriffin, for that to be the route that we take. But, do we try to play Meve in the melee row and boost up these guys? No, you know, it doesn't make that big of a difference if we do, so I guess it is range row that we prefer. Because the inspiredness doesn't matter anymore on Dandelion. Okay, it's a Blightmaker for some thinning. They have a lot of small cards here. Then, leader ability charge. I mean, they have more lock, of course. So they do have a big lead on us here. We do have a huge ace up our sleeve with Golden Nekker, so we may still be able to catch them if we'd like to go that route. But we are still generating some value from Mutagenerator whenever we play one of these 9 provision cost cards in our range row, so maybe we do go with Nenneke here and get ourselves closer, catching up to them, and then boost. Technically, I think we want to try to get as many people inspired in this row as possible. Like so that means Lyrian Scytheman becomes an option as well. But if they pass, which they may do, then the plan is basically Golden Nekker, and we're hoping that that'll be sufficient. They do pass. Okay. So this is where we break out the Golden Nekker, I think. There's a non-zero chance that it gives us Archgriffin. That's probably fine, because it will, of course, go back into our deck. And we got, not a ton, but some boosts on it. So, let's use you. I mean, either that or, I mean, I don't think Lyrian Scytheman by itself is going to be enough. No. So, yeah, Golden Nekker. Okay. What do we think about Dunbanner? Don't love it, but if we play it in the melee row, we can actually get it boosted and thin out the other one, so that's probably the best course of action here. There goes the other one. Then we can get a Temerian Drummer. Are we about to get an Archgriffin out here? I don't think so, so I don't think that's going to matter too much. So, yeah, this really doesn't make much of any difference here, other than, sure, giving ourselves a few more boosts. And then let's go for, actually, the Hawker support in, oh, that's you. And then here in the range row, where you'll do some deck boosting. Technically, that missed boosting anyone, but we're still fine here. We're still fine. We have enough points. So, Golden Nekker, the ace up our sleeve, did work in that instance. And what we've saved is Donimir, Vysogota, and Tridam Infantry become a potential target for those Vysogota boosts. And we do still have, I believe, a leader ability charge remaining, which we can use to get the Archgriffin out here, which we may even want to try to get that on the board here and push in round 2, and worst comes to worst, if we don't win, we still get the carryover from the Archgriffin, and then we have a decent chance, not guaranteed, but decent, that we draw back into it in round 3. What if we get rid of you? There is the Archgriffin. I think that means we try this. It's not that risky, because we have Donimir to help protect our range row, where it's definitely where we're going to put Vysogota and the Archgriffin. Then we just load up on as many boosts as we possibly can on that Archgriffin. And that means that even if we don't win this round, it goes back into our deck, and we're hoping that that carryover will be enough for us to win round 3. And we still have a leader ability charge, so yeah, now that we have Archgriffin in hand, we can make sure that we use that. Get Archgriffin back in round 3 for sure. So we don't care that much about them giving Spine to Donimir. It may mean that they're going to try to create a copy of him with Terra Nova, but it's more so if they purify him, then I start to get nervous. Emissary is fine, because we're just looking to do this, and boost ya as much as we can. Okay, Heat Wave gets rid of Donimir. That is a little scary, because now they have a leader ability charge. So yeah, they can lock our Archgriffin. So that means this guy is definitely not making it back into our deck for round 3. So I think that means we have to go all in on this round, which is a little nerve-wracking. But we could get Seltkirk out with our leader ability charge in that case. Maybe dump one of these Tridam Infantries. And I mean, he's boosted all the way up to a 9, so that's a pretty big deal. And it might even be enough to distract them and try to have them lock him instead of the Archgriffin. So I think we do that. Let's dump you. And then let's actually play the Tridam Infantry first. And maybe give the boost to the Tridam Infantry, because that'll give us some damage as well. And the long-term value on the Archgriffin may be much lower now than it was before. Artifact Impression. Oh, that is not the way that I expected them to do that. Okay, so they still have a leader ability charge. They use that on Vysogota. All right. Very interesting, because that does mean that now it may be somewhat safe to play Seltkirk. Really hoped that we were going to get one more turn with Vysogota, because one more boost would have been enough to get rid of the Mage Torturer. He's 1 damage shy right now, which is very nearly a big deal, but not quite. So, I mean, we can force them to play one more card here to catch up to us, and 6 points, I mean, they probably can make that happen, right? But we do the Scytheman over here. You become a 6, then we won't have time to play Seltkirk. So, you know, do we save Seltkirk for round 3 and go for a short round 3 in which we have... not amazing options. Maybe Vial of Knowledge will help make Seltkirk bigger, though. I suppose. It's a little bit of a weird in-between approach, where they may be able to catch us with 1 card. I doubt they'll be able to catch us with 1 card. Alright, Doragary. Good thing we did not play Seltkirk, because he would have gotten locked. And they have not yet caught us, so we bled out more lock. That is definitely worth it. So we traded a 6 for a 6, but I think their card was better. So that's fine. This is where we stop. So they do need to play 1 more card, and we're hoping that it's a really big card that they were planning on saving for round 3 that they now have to use. It's more lock. So, I mean, it's not huge, but we'll take it. Actually, it's not enough points, so they have to play Oniro. Oh man, look at that. The bleed working well here. They will need to be a card down. They'll seal our lead ability with Anna Henrietta, but that's not going to do them much good. Presumably, they don't have any Northern Realms cards in their deck. Okay, so Tridam Infantry is not super helpful anymore because we don't have much ways to boost them unless we take the Vial of Forbidden Knowledge, which we may be able to get if we swap one of these guys out. Lyrian Scytheman is, I mean, both these guys don't have much way to get set up in a short round. They are primarily long round cards. What is our tallest card in our deck right now? I mean, if we get rid of one of these guys, Alzur's Double Cross will give us that card. So what if we get rid of you, and we do get Vial of Forbidden Knowledge? That's great, because that can work well on either Tridam Infantry or that Seltkirk. But I think we're going to want to wait to play Seltkirk until near the end, because, I mean, we've seen they have countless amounts of lock, right? But they will theoretically still have 1 last turn in which they can potentially lock Seltkirk if they hold on to their lock. But we're hoping that they might overreact to this Tridam Infantry. Technically, we probably did want to play it in the melee row to load up on as many boosted units in the melee row as possible. Oniro, if they have lock, this is probably what they're looking for. Oh no, it's Dandelion. That's not bad. But yeah, I played it in the range row because I thought they might have had an Alba Pikeman, which, given how much damage they have right now, is the impression that I'm getting, but perhaps not. So now we go Vial Forbidden Knowledge. And we use this to not only boost Tridam Infantry, giving us some damage, but also give it Vitality, which means 1 damage per turn as well. So that's pretty big value. So what is this last card? Actually, they won't have time to lock Seltkirk in that case. Ooh, okay, they don't have any particularly big targets for Seltkirk to duel, but I'm not sure that's going to matter here. we'll play him, and we already have enough points, so we won't even need to use Double Cross to get that Lyrian Scytheman. We are already good. Alright, so going up against Skellige here. And we'll go first. Okay, so we have Mutagenerator, and this is one of our key cards. We'd like to have some bronze units to go along with that. We do have Redanian Elite and then some of our special cards that can make that happen. But we also want to make sure we have some of these hanging out in our deck, so when we hopefully get the Golden Nekker, we can bring those out, both a balance of artifacts and special cards. So let's get rid of you. Reynard, I mean, we've got a bunch of 9s. So that's not bad. It may just mean that we're focusing a lot on deck boosting in our range row to power up our Archgriffin. I think that's probably what this is going to turn into then. Although we could, of course, use Curse Scroll to get a precise card if we need one thing in particular. But I think what we'll do is first we'll do Reynard, then Dandelion, both in the range row, and then that'll set up a bunch of deck boosting to get the Archgriffin. So, let's go that route. Oh, except we should have gone Mutagenerator first. That will come next. So yeah, we have so many 9s in our deck that it is going to help us a whole lot. So, whoopsie daisies. You were supposed to go first. Okay, Megascope, they're creating a bunch of little halfers. So we did see that Ryogan went into their graveyard. They are very clearly a rain deck of some variety. Now let's go Dandelion. Put them in the range row, which means we'll get a bunch of cards in our deck boosted. Much of our 9s. In fact, we have a ton in our hand right now, so it's not quite as much as it might normally be. But Reynard will also boost Dandelion, so he's inspired, so we'll boost the top unit in our deck. So that's good stuff. Which we should now be able to determine. The top unit is not entirely sure. Is it Archgriffin? Oh, it is Archgriffin. Oh, awesome. Okay, so we're getting a bunch of free boosts on Archgriffin. Okay, then it's Melusine Cultist, so yep. Not so surprisingly. Some range synergies here. We are going to need to continue to play in the range row, even if that's the row that they're putting all the rain on. So that does unfortunately mean that Dandelion got damaged. He's no longer inspired, so we will likely want to play something to this side of Reynard, use Reynard's order to get Dandelion boosted back up, and that could be Meve, but yeah, it might be Meve. I do kind of like to save her for round 3, but as I was saying, we have a very, very 9 provision cost heavy hand right now. So let's use Reynard's ability, that way we make sure that we have Dandelion boosted back up. So he's inspired, we boost the Archgriffin even further. And let's go Curse Scroll here, because we don't have Golden Nekker in our hand, and that can be a little bit tough to get, because we cannot get it with our leader ability. Let's put back one of our 4 provision cost cards, because although I was initially thinking that that was going to be the direction we'd end up going in this round, it looks like it's going to be all about the 9 provision cost cards instead, with the one exception maybe being Seltkirk. Melusine, okay, also, that was inevitable. It's going to happen at some point. Actually, surprised I didn't play her earlier. Okay, fortunately, Dandelion went unharmed for the time being. He's the one that we care the most about being inspired, and Meve, although she has armor at the moment, so she should be fine. Then, so on one hand, if we get Alzur's Double Cross to play the Archgriffin, we have it out, we can give it a little boost from Reynard, which would be nice, and it would be getting a little bit of a boost from Meve as well. We do have one turn before that happens, though, so perhaps, maybe we even play Nenneke first. Or, I know I was just saying we would wait to play Seltkirk, but we have enough 9 provision cost cards. We play them in the melee row. We are still going to get a decent number of boosts, so you know what? Maybe we do that. I suppose Golden Nekker is also, obviously, a possibility. Okay, Smallblood Cultist. They're going to do some Half-Roost Singers? Maybe? Alright, Seltkirk's probably the only card we're going to end up playing in the melee row. So this rain won't be getting that much value. I'm not too concerned about that. So one of the reasons why I delayed a little bit before we went and got our Archgriffin out here is because now that means we can get one more turn of Dandelion boosting the Archgriffin in our deck before we actually summon it out. So, and I mean, also Dandelion is coincidentally, very conveniently, boosting Archgriffin at the end of the turn anyway. So that is one of the reasons why I'm a little reluctant to do it, to be honest. That is just awesome value. And, I mean, if we aren't going to do that, then what do we go for? I mean, Donimir would be another 9. I guess we could go Matta. Oh, except, well, we don't have a way to get Matta. So, no, we can't do that. So, I guess it's Nenneke. And what we'll do is... Oh, well, obviously, we're going to boost you. But what we'll do is now that means... Sure, we miss out on the Meve boost on the Archgriffin, but that's just one single boost, so it's not a huge deal. And now we have the option of, depending on what ends up happening here with Melusine, potentially put some boosts on Seltkirk with Nenneke, possibly have enough to get rid of Melusine. Don't think so at the end of this boost, though. Yeah, and it's going to get not only base power increase, but also a little bit of boost from the Melusine cultist, so it's going to be pretty unlikely for that to be doable, but we could get rid of, certainly, this Messenger of the Sea, which is probably worth doing. That might be the best option for us here with Seltkirk, so that's probably the play there. And then, do we get Alzur's Double Cross into the Archgriffin in order to use Nenneke's boost on the Archgriffin? Possibly. What are our alternatives, though? I think the longer we wait, the better, right? So I think we go take you out, and let's just keep it simple and go Lyrian Scytheman. Range row, there are some boosted units in that row, not a ton, but it gets a little bit of value, and because most of our 4 provision cost cards hanging out in our deck, we boost all those, and not sure if that's going to be that much of a factor, but it's an option. Okay, Ermion. What alchemy card are they looking for? Delirium. Curious to see how this damage gets split. Pretty much perfectly for us outside of that one extra damage on Dandelion, so he's no longer inspired. Especially after that, he's definitely no longer inspired. So, and we can still use these Nenneke charges if we'd like. I guess we could have used them proactively, or before we played the Lyrian Scytheman for more boost on that, but this is not the point. This is not the focus. Focus is that. So, I think we might go Summoning Circle here, though. Try to find a 4 provision cost card and either boost you up or boost the other 4 provision cost cards in our deck. Use Nenneke on Dandelion, and then that might be the last card that we play. So, let's see. You are atrocious, but you are a 4. You are also a 4. You are a 5, which is not as interesting to us. Not sure the bleed is all that impactful, though. So why don't we do this? Boost other cards in our deck. Then let's make sure that you are still inspired. And let's use your ability to boost the Archgriffin. And, I mean, if we want to take more turns, we can save a couple of charges on Nenneke, because, of course, well, they are going to pass. Okay. So we are still going to get this boost on Meve, and we'll get one more turn of Dandelion's deck boosting. So that's fine. I think we can certainly make that work, because they may try to do something similar here. Get some carryover with Melusine, except we have a 21, soon-to-be 22-point Archgriffin hanging out in our deck. So, I think we can match that. Okay, so we did play one more card than our opponent in round 1. However, what we could theoretically do is tempo pass by playing just the Archgriffin, leave it at that, and it'll go back into our deck at the end of the round, keep all of its boosts as well, so we can then play it in round 3 using Alzur's Double Cross, or maybe with the Golden Nekker. So I do like that a lot. We may want to... How many artifacts do we have in our deck remaining here? Not enough. So let's put you back so the Golden Nekker still has a target there, at the very least. So I think that's what we do. Of course, there's a chance if they have something like Morkvar or Cardoterra, then we're going to be regretting this decision quite a bit, but outside of that, it should be the right idea. Also, obviously, Yrden or any Geralts of just about any variety, but fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that is not about to happen. And they forfeit. So there you have it. They did not have an answer. So there's a look at a Northern Realms deck using the new and extremely powerful Golden Nekker card. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time!